I usually check the license plate. I'm that guy. Always double checks the plate before opening the door, no matter how harmless the driver looks. But that night, I don't know. Maybe it was the rain, maybe the 2 beers at the bar, or maybe I was just too tired to care. I saw the car pull up, black Civic, no bumper stickers, no dents. Looked clean. I hopped in. The driver didn't speak. No hey or, "You Jason?" Just a short nod when I gave my name. I didn't push for conversation. His hands were pale on the steering wheel, too clean, like he just scrubbed them with something harsh. We pulled away from the curb, and within 30 seconds I noticed something strange. The GPS wasn't on. Not on the dashboard, not on his phone, nowhere. I leaned slightly forward and glanced at his screen. It was off. No directions, no Uber interface, nothing. You know where you're going?" I asked. Silence. He turned down a side street without signaling. I checked my phone. The ride in the app still showed we were headed to my place, but the blue dot, my location, was veering off route. Way off. "Hey man," I said louder. "I think you missed a turn." He didn't look back. Just muttered, almost inaudibly, "Shortcut." The rain thickened, slapping the windshield. We passed under a flickering streetlight, and for a moment, I saw his eyes in the mirror. He wasn't looking at the road, he was looking at me. Not with anger, but with something worse. Curiosity. Like he was trying to figure out how I'd react. I turned my phone's flashlight on low and subtly checked the door. Manual lock. Down. I tried the handle. Child locked. I swallowed hard and typed a message to my roommate. "This guy's not my driver. Please call me now." I hit send. Nothing. No reception. The buildings disappeared. We were in the industrial district now, past the warehouses, where everything looks like it's under construction but nothing ever is. No lights. No people. Just concrete and chain-link fences. Then we turned again, onto a dirt road I didn't even know existed. It dipped sharply, and that's when I saw it, another car, parked off to the side. Identical black Civic. Windows fogged up. Headlights off. "Okay, I'm gonna need you to stop the car," I said, my voice higher than I liked. He didn't slow down. I grabbed the headrest and shouted, "Stop the goddamn car!" He slammed the brakes. Hard. The seatbelt caught my chest, and I felt my phone slide out of my hand, disappearing under the seat. We sat there in silence, the wipers thumping steadily. He reached into his coat. I braced myself. Thought about kicking the door out. Thought about fighting. Thought about dying. But he didn't pull a weapon. He pulled out a Polaroid. He held it up, turned slightly so I could see. It was a picture of me. Me, stepping into the car. But it wasn't tonight. I was wearing a different jacket. My hair was longer. It had to be months ago. I stared at it, heart pounding in my ears. "What the hell is that?" I whispered. He didn't answer. Just started driving again, this time slower, like he wanted me to see what was coming. And I did. About 100 feet ahead, in the mist, stood a figure. Still. Facing us. Another me. I didn't breathe. The other me just stood there, in the middle of the road, barely visible through the steam rising off the wet asphalt. He wasn't moving, just staring at the car. At me. The driver didn't stop. He crept forward slowly, and the headlights caught the figure in full. Same shoes. Same jacket I wore 6 months ago. Same scar above the eyebrow from the time I fell off my bike when I was 12. It wasn't a look-alike. It was me. "I want out," I said, panic tightening in my throat. "Let me out right now." He didn't flinch. His eyes flicked to the mirror again. Not to check the road, but to look at me in the back seat. Then back to the one standing ahead. The version of me on the road tilted his head slightly, like he was listening to something just behind him. Then he raised one hand and slowly pointed down, to the ditch. The car stopped. My hands shook so badly I had to brace them against the door. Rain tapped gently on the roof. The other me turned and disappeared into the darkness off the side of the road. Without a word, the driver put the car in park and got out. He left the engine running. I scrambled for my phone, nothing but wet receipts and old gum under the seat. The door was still locked. I reached across, tried the front passenger handle, locked too. I was trapped. I watched through the windshield as the driver followed the other me off the road. He didn't look back. Just walked into the dark with a limp, like one leg wasn't fully working. I waited 10 seconds. 20. Then opened the glove box. Nothing but a crumpled parking ticket and a napkin with something scribbled on it in red ink. I pulled it out, hoping for an address, a name, anything. It was just a time. 3:12 a.m. I checked the dashboard clock. 3:11. The headlights dimmed for a moment, like the engine was stuttering. I heard something slam against the side of the car, something heavy. Then another sound. A dragging. I climbed into the front seat and flipped the manual lock. Door clicked open. I flung it wide and bolted. The air hit me like ice, soaking me instantly. I didn't stop to think. I just ran. Mud splashed my jeans, my lungs burned, but I kept going, back toward the main road. Behind me, I heard it, 2 sets of footsteps. One fast, one dragging. I didn't turn around. It took me 10 minutes to reach a gas station. I don't remember what I said to the clerk, something about being chased, about a fake Uber driver, about a body maybe. He looked terrified. Called the cops. They arrived 20 minutes later. By then, I was shaking so hard they thought I was on something. I gave them everything. The app history. The Polaroid. The napkin. But here's the part one can't shake. The car was gone. No sign of it ever being there. No tire marks. No footprints. No ditch. Just wet gravel and silence. But a week later, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a Polaroid. Same angle. Same shot. Me getting into the car. But this time, the driver was smiling at the camera. And he looked exactly like me. The guy had almost perfect ratings. That's why I didn't think twice. 4.98 stars, over 1,000 rides. The reviews all said things like, friendly, funny, great music taste. Typical stuff. So when he pulled up right on time, midnight sharp, I didn't even glance at the plate. I just got in. He had a small dashboard sign with my name printed on it in neat block letters, Martin. Kind of old school, but a nice touch. Martin? He asked. Yeah, that's me. He smiled and pulled into the street. You headed home? Yeah. The car smelled faintly of cologne and something else, like burned sugar. The inside was clean. Immaculate, actually. No trash, no crumbs, no air freshener clips. Like it had never really been used. I noticed the screen next to the dash had no visible GPS running. It just said rating, 5.0 in glowing blue letters. You don't use GPS? I asked. He glanced at me in the mirror. I prefer a more personal touch. He chuckled, but the laugh felt rehearsed. I laughed a little too, out of politeness, but something about the tone stuck with me. After a few minutes, I realized we weren't taking the usual route. I checked my phone. We were heading in the general direction of my place, but definitely not the fastest way. You mind if we take Maine? It's quicker. He nodded but didn't turn. A minute later, I asked again. Hey man, it's cool, I just need to get home fast. Could we maybe take? I like to take my passengers on the route they deserve. I blinked. What? People always want the fastest, cheapest, easiest route. But that's not always the right one. I didn't know what to say. My mouth opened, then shut. He continued softly. It's hard to know what someone really deserves, you know? But ratings help. I only take 5-star passengers now. Makes it easier. The glowing rating on the dash flickered slightly. 5.0 still. I locked my phone. quietly checked the door handle. It was locked. Manual. Are you saying you can see my rating? He nodded slowly. Of course. We all can. Every driver. That's how we know who's good. Who's decent. He turned onto a dimly lit road that ran under the old train bridge. One of those long, narrow stretches with nothing but concrete and rusted chain-link fences. I always thought ratings were just for drivers, I said, trying to stay calm. Didn't realize they went both ways. He didn't reply. Just kept driving. One hand on the wheel. The other resting gently on a switch below the dash I hadn't noticed before. It had 3 positions. Only the middle one was labeled. Mute. Listen, I said, voice cracking slightly. If this is a joke or a prank, I'm not laughing. Just drop me off. Anywhere. I'll walk. He slowed down slightly, the engine humming. It's not a prank, Martin. You're one of the lucky ones. Not everyone gets 5 stars. Most people, they drop. And then they disappear. I stared at him. Disappear? He nodded, eyes still forward. Low ratings make noise. They complain. They lie. But 5 stars? They get the quiet rides. We passed a boarded-up warehouse. Its walls were covered in spray paint, but one symbol caught my eye, repeated 5 times in red. 5 stars. A rating. Only this time, each star was slashed through. I watched the symbols vanish into the rearview, unease creeping up my spine. Something told me they weren't just vandalism. They were warnings. The kind you don't leave unless you want someone to see them. Unless you need them to see it. Look, I don't know what kind of message you're trying to send, I said, my hand now gripping the door handle so tightly my knuckles ached. But if this is some weird social experiment, you picked the wrong guy. The driver didn't respond. His eyes stayed fixed on the road ahead, but something about his face had changed. He wasn't smiling anymore. The car slowed. Not stopped, just slowed. On the right side of the road stood a lone payphone booth. An actual payphone, tucked under a busted street lamp that buzzed intermittently. The receiver dangled, swaying gently. Want to make a call? He asked. What? You're getting anxious. Figured you might want to talk to someone. Let them know you're okay. I didn't say I was anxious. He gave a small shrug. You're 5 stars, Martin. 5 stars are always polite. But that doesn't mean they aren't scared. We passed the booth and continued into what looked like an undeveloped lot, flattened dirt, blackened grass, half-buried fence posts like broken teeth in the mud. I reached for my phone, found it dead. No battery. I'd swear it was at 60% when I got in. I whispered, What is this place? This, he said, turning off the engine, is where low ratings go. Silence. He didn't move, didn't even turn to look at me. I reached forward slowly and hit the unlock button on the dashboard. The click was the loudest sound in the world. He didn't stop me. Just kept staring forward. I pushed the door open and stepped out into the cold air. The smell hit me first, damp soil, rust, and something chemical, faint but sharp. The lot stretched into a dark horizon. No buildings. No cars. Nothing. I turned back. The car was gone. Just gone. Like I'd never been in it. Like he'd never been there. I stood there, frozen, until headlights appeared in the distance. A different car this time, same model, different license plate. It pulled up beside me. The window rolled down. Inside sat a woman in her 20s, brown curls, tired eyes. She looked at me, confused. Martin? She asked. Did you call a ride? I didn't answer. She looked at her phone. It says you're my passenger. Weird, says this is your pickup point. I glanced down at her dashboard. Rating, 4.2. The number flickered briefly. Then dropped to 4.1. My legs moved before my brain did. I took a step back, away from the car. I think there's been a mistake, I said. She tilted her head. You sure? You look like the picture. I stepped back again. She smiled. A little too wide. You sure you're not Martin? She asked again. Her hand hovered near the switch under her dash. 3 positions. This one had labels. Mute. Review. Erase. I turned and ran. Behind me, the engine idled then faded. I've been walking for an hour now. No signal. No roads. Just dirt and fog. But I swear I can still see the rating, floating somewhere behind my eyes. 5.0. And I know this much, if it drops even once, I won't get to walk away next time. It was a quiet Tuesday afternoon. I'd been driving Uber full-time for 3 months, just enough time to settle into the rhythm, know which neighborhoods tip better, when the drunks come out, where the traffic chokes up. I had a system. Around 3:45 p.m., the app pinged. Just a name, unknown rider. No picture. No address. Just a location pin near the outskirts, along a wooded stretch of road I usually avoided. There wasn't even a profile. No stars. No trip history. Just the request. I hesitated. I'd never seen that before. I tapped the info icon. A message popped up. This ride is a beta feature. Drivers receive a bonus for completion. The bonus was significant. I hit accept. It took me 20 minutes to reach the pin. The road narrowed, trees crowding in from both sides, thick with summer growth. I drove slowly, the tires crunching on gravel. At first I thought I'd missed it. Then I saw him. A man stepped out of the woods. He wore a dark hoodie with the hood pulled tight. No bag, no phone, just standing there like he'd been waiting. He didn't wave or speak, just opened the back door and slid in. Hey, I said, forcing a smile. You the ride? He didn't answer. I glanced in the mirror. He looked older than I expected. Maybe late 40s. Pale skin, sunken eyes. Something about his face didn't match the voice I'd imagined. I was expecting college stoner. This guy looked like he hadn't slept in a year. I tried again. Got a drop-off location. He nodded, then leaned forward and tapped my phone. His finger was ice cold. The app recalculated. New destination, 462 Low Hollow Road. I didn't know the address. Didn't even know there was a Low Hollow Road in this county. But the map drew a path clear as day. I put the car in drive. As we pulled away, I noticed something strange. My app no longer showed the ride in progress. No timer. No fare. Just a blank screen with the Uber logo and a loading icon. You new to the app? I asked, glancing at him again. He didn't respond. The silence stretched. I turned on the radio. Static. Switch stations. All static. I shut it off. The route took us through a narrow valley. The sun vanished behind the trees, and everything dimmed, even though it wasn't yet evening. I passed a road sign that had been spray-painted black, the name completely obscured. Still, the GPS insisted we were on track. Eventually, we reached a fork. The app showed left, but the man leaned forward, his voice low and gravelly. Take the right. I hesitated. The app says? I said right. I turned right. Immediately, the air changed. Heavy. Like I'd driven into a thunderstorm that hadn't broken yet. The trees leaned in, closer than they should have been. I couldn't see the sky anymore. The road ended at a gate. Rusted, slightly ajar. Beyond it, a house. 3 stories, windows boarded, paint peeling like old skin. It looked abandoned. Wrong. This it? I asked. The man didn't answer. He opened the door and got out. And then he spoke. You'll wait for me. It wasn't a request. I watched him walk up the path and disappear into the house. The gate creaked shut behind him. The app finally refreshed. The ride had changed status. Waiting for rider. Do not leave VHICLE. The gate clanged shut like a final decision. I stared at the message on my screen. Waiting for rider. Do not leave vehicle. It wasn't just a suggestion. The text pulse read, and beneath it, a countdown began. 1,500 hours. I assumed it was a timer, maybe for how long I'd be expected to wait before I could cancel. But there was no cancel option. No buttons at all. Just the ticking numbers. The house was still. Too still. No wind. No birds. No insects. The kind of stillness you only notice once it's already there. I considered breaking the rules. Leaving. But something about the silence, the weight of it, made me feel like I wasn't alone. Not just in the car. Out here, in the woods. The clock hit 13:04. That's when I noticed the scent. At first, I thought I was imagining it. A faint, coppery tang, like pennies soaked in water. Then it deepened, stronger, metallic, mixed with something sharp and sweet, like rotting fruit. I rolled the windows down, then up again, but it didn't help. It wasn't coming from outside. It was coming from the back seat. I whipped around. Nothing there. Except the seatbelt. It was latched. I hadn't noticed that before. When the man got out, he didn't unlatch it, he just stepped out. I was sure of it. My heart pounded in my ears. I reached back and unclicked it. It sprang open like it had been under tension. The app buzzed. Do not unbuckle. The screen now showed a warning icon. Below it, new text had appeared. Rider will return shortly. Please remain seated. You are being rated. I slammed the home button. The screen didn't change. Tried to power down the phone. It refused. It was like the app was the phone now. The timer dropped below 9 o'clock. Then I heard it. From inside the house. Screaming. Not loud. Not panicked. But steady. Wet. Like someone screaming through a mouthful of water. The kind of sound that short-circuits your reason. I fumbled for the gear shift, threw the car into reverse, and stepped on the gas. Nothing. The engine revved, but the car wouldn't move. The screen buzzed again. Leaving vehicle early may result in a lower rating. Please stay inside. I don't remember what I yelled. Probably every curse I knew. My fist slammed the steering wheel, the dashboard, the windows. I didn't care if the guy came back. I just wanted out. Then the clock hit 5 o'clock. And the door behind me clicked open. I froze. The door opened outward. Slowly. Not the way a person opens a door. Not with a hand. It swung wide and held there. I looked in the rearview mirror. No one. But there was something. The back seat was wet. Soaked through. Not with rain, there was none, but with something darker. Thicker. A black object lay in the center of the seat. I turned slowly, reached over, and picked it up. It was a wallet. My wallet. But I hadn't dropped it. I hadn't even used it today. It was clean. Too clean. And inside, my license. My ID. Only it was smeared. My photo was scratched out. And under the name was a new one. Unknown rider. The timer hit midnight. The app refreshed. Drop OFF complete. You have been rated. And then the screen showed my face. Smiling. But I wasn't. I still drive sometimes. But never for Uber. And never ever in the woods. The first time it happened, I thought it was a glitch. I was driving my usual Friday night shift, picking up bar hoppers and tipsy college kids. It was just past midnight when I got a ping from someone named Elaine. 5-star rating, nice profile picture, woman in her 30s, short blonde hair, blue eyes. The pickup was in a residential cul-de-sac, quiet, middle class. When I pulled up, the porch light was on, but no one came out. I waited. A minute passed. Then 2. Finally, the front door opened. A woman stepped out, tall, dark coat, hair tied back. She didn't look like the picture, but people change styles. Maybe it was an old profile. She climbed into the front passenger seat, which almost never happens. Everyone uses the back. Elaine? I asked. She nodded but didn't speak. Where to? She tapped my phone screen and sat back, staring straight ahead. I checked the app. Destination, Pelham Memorial Cemetery. I raised an eyebrow. Interesting choice for a Friday night. No response. The ride started normally enough. I tried making small talk, weather, traffic, weekend plans, but she didn't engage. Just sat there, completely still. Not even scrolling her phone. Just holding something in her lap. I couldn't see what. I let it go. The silence started to get under my skin after a few minutes. There's something about having a silent person right next to you that feels wrong. Like you're being watched, even when they're looking away. We reached a red light. That's when I glanced down and saw her hands. They were shaking. Not trembling, shaking. Hard. But she was still as a statue otherwise. Her eyes locked on the road, her lips pressed in a tight line. And her lap, what I'd thought was a purse, it was actually a bundle. Wrapped in cloth. Something small and rectangular. Tied with twine. "You okay?" I asked. No answer. The light turned green, and we kept going. It wasn't until we passed the sign for the cemetery that things got strange. She started whispering. At first I thought she was talking to me. But when I looked over, her head was slightly turned, not toward me, but to her right, out the window. Like she was murmuring to someone outside. The words were soft. Unclear. I caught fragments. "I did what I had to." He didn't scream. "I buried it deep." I didn't know what to do. My hands were slick on the wheel. My heart was thudding. I didn't want to interrupt. I didn't want her to look at me. We turned into the cemetery. The gate was open. The road dipped slightly, winding through ancient tombstones leaning at odd angles. Fog was starting to creep in from the trees. My headlights cut through it in narrow beams. "Is this the spot?" I asked, trying to keep my voice level. She didn't answer. Instead, she opened the door and stepped out. The bundle stayed behind, resting on the seat. She walked slowly into the mist, her shape swallowed almost instantly by the night. I sat there, paralyzed, the car idling. Then the phone buzzed. New message from Uber. "Did you forget something?" Attached was a photo. Of me. Taken from the passenger seat. Taken seconds ago. But the seat was empty. I dropped my phone. I didn't mean to, it just slipped from my hands like my body had decided to abandon all coordination. My breath came shallow. That photo, it was impossible. The angle, the lighting, it was from the passenger's point of view, looking right at me, just moments ago. But Elaine was gone. And the seat was empty. I reached over and touched it. The upholstery was warm, the fabric slightly damp. Not with rain, but something else. Something that smelled faintly of soil and rust. The bundle. It still sat on the seat, neat and tied, no bigger than a shoebox. The twine crisscrossed the cloth tightly, like it had been wrapped with care. My hand hovered above it, fingers twitching. Another buzz. "Drop off incomplete. Return the item." The message came from within the Uber app, but there was no notification. No sound. Just a soft vibration, like a reminder from deep inside the phone. I picked it up, hard hammering. The app now showed a new route. Not to Elaine's house. Not to any house. It was taking me deeper into the cemetery. There was no way to end the ride. No cancel button. No end trip. Just that quiet little map, slowly updating with my blue dot as I sat frozen. And then I heard it. Footsteps. Not from the fog. From inside the car. Right behind my seat. I turned so fast my neck popped. Nothing. No one. But the rear passenger seatbelt was buckled. Just like in the previous story. The mirror fogged briefly. Like someone had exhaled. I slammed the car into gear and pulled forward. I wasn't thinking straight anymore, just reacting. The headlights cut through the thickening mist as the path twisted into the older part of the cemetery, where names on headstones had faded and the trees looked like they were holding their breath. Then I saw it. The figure. Standing among the stones. Not Elaine. A man. Older. bent, like something had worn down his spine. He didn't move as the car approached. Just stood there, staring. I stopped. The app chirped again. This time, out loud. You have arrived at your destination. My doors unlocked. Automatically. The bundle on the seat twitched. I didn't want to touch it. But I did. It was heavier than it looked. Solid. As I picked it up, I noticed the twine had loosened slightly at one end, revealing a corner of something smooth. Glossy. Like a photograph. I didn't unwrap it. I couldn't. I stepped out of the car and carried the bundle to the figure. As I got closer, I saw his face. It was identical to mine. Older. Grayer. But unmistakably me. He didn't speak. Just opened his arms. I held the bundle out. He took it. Turned. And vanished into the mist. Just like that. Gone. I ran back to the car. The app had reset. It showed the home screen, like nothing had happened. A new ride request came through. Normal name. Normal address. I declined. Then uninstalled the app. I don't drive anymore. Not for Uber. Not for anyone. But sometimes, in that hour between sleep and waking, I swear I hear the passenger door open. And I smell earth. And Rust.it started as a rumor among drivers. We called it ghost mode. Supposedly, it was a hidden part of the Uber app that sometimes activated during late-night shifts. No one knew how. It wasn't listed in the manual, and customer service denied it existed. But we'd heard stories. I didn't believe them. Not until it happened to me. It was a slow Thursday night. I just dropped off a passenger downtown and was about to call it when a new ride popped up. No location. No name. Just a gray screen and a single word. Accept. Curiosity got the better of me. I tapped it. Instantly, my screen went black. Not like it crashed, just turned into a mirror. It showed the car interior through my front-facing camera. Me, lit in eerie blue light. Then the screen blinked once. And a new message appeared. Ghost mode activated. Follow instructions carefully. A red dot pulsed on the map, about 10 miles out in the hills. No address, no roads, just coordinates. The app said the pickup time was immediate. I should have ended the shift. Thrown the phone out the window, maybe. But something compelled me to drive. The app wouldn't close. I even tried shutting down the phone completely, but it stayed on, frozen on the pulsing dot. As I drove, things got strange. First, my radio stopped working. No static. Just silence. Then, the streetlights began to thin. Houses disappeared. The pavement cracked and narrowed. I was heading somewhere remote. Forgotten. And then the temperature dropped. I swear I saw my breath, even though it was summer. I reached the coordinates at 1:06 a.m. It was an old gas station. Long closed. The windows were boarded, and ivy had eaten most of the signage. My headlights barely reached the edge of the lot. The app chimed again. Wait. No one in sight. No lights. No movement. Until I blinked. A man stood by the pump. He hadn't been there a second ago. He was tall, wearing a long coat that didn't fit right, like it belonged to someone else. He didn't have a phone. He didn't even look at me. Just opened the back door and slid in. I turned to speak, but before I could say a word, the app interrupted. Do not speak unless spoken to. I nodded, even though no one could see me. Hands shaking slightly, I put the car in drive. Lowland Road. The man rasped. That wasn't a real street. I'd never heard of it. I checked the map. Sure enough, a road called Lowland now appeared. It hadn't existed before. As I drove, I noticed something else. The car's reflection in the windows we passed. It was wrong. We'd drive by a shop front, and I'd glance at the glass and see the vehicle reflected back. Same shape. Same make. But no one in the driver's seat. And in the back? It wasn't just one person anymore. There were two shadows. I kept driving. I don't know how long we were on that road. My sense of time got slippery. Minutes felt like hours. I passed a sign that read, "Welcome to Lowland," but there were no buildings. Just fog, trees, and the faint outline of telephone poles vanishing into the mist. Then the man spoke. "This is where you let me off." I stopped the car. He didn't move. He leaned forward slightly. "Open the glove box." Inside was an envelope. I opened it. It was full of passenger receipts. All from rides I never gave. Names I didn't recognize. One of them was mine. I stared at the slip with my name on it. Same spelling. Same phone number. Even the profile picture was mine, but it was old, taken from an angle I didn't remember. I turned around. The man was gone. No door sound. No movement. Just vanished. The car was empty. And the back seat, dry, clean, undisturbed. Like no one had ever been there at all. I looked back at the envelope, now trembling in my hands. The receipts weren't just from random people. They were dates. Times. Pick-up and drop-off locations. Places I'd never been. But all the timestamps were from nights I remembered having dreams, strange, vivid dreams that faded by morning. I checked the one with my name again. It was dated 2 months prior. A ride from my apartment to a place called Lowland Crossing. But that wasn't possible. I was home that night, sick in bed. I remembered because I never turned on the app. The phone buzzed. A new message. Final stop. Do not return. The map on my screen changed. There was no route out. Just a growing red circle around my current location. I tapped the screen. It didn't respond. The car engine died. The lights flickered and went out. I was surrounded by silence. And fog. I tried the ignition. Nothing. I tried opening the door, locked. Not jammed. Locked. Like someone else controlled it. Then I heard it. Not outside. From the phone's speaker. A voice. Whispering. Low and layered, like multiple people speaking the same sentence with just a half-second delay between each voice. You drove too far. You carried too many. You left the door open. Then silence. I opened the glove box again, desperate for anything, a tool, a key, another message. The envelope was gone. In its place, a single Polaroid. It was my car. Parked in the same spot I was in now. The fog was thicker in the photo, but you could still make out the car. Only difference, there was someone in the driver's seat. Not me. Someone wearing my jacket. My face, turned just enough to catch in profile. But something was wrong with the eyes, completely black. As if someone had burned the photo there. Another buzz. The screen now said, "You have become the ride." And then the car engine roared back to life. The lights turned on by themselves. The screen flashed. Next pickup, awaiting request. I tried to shut it off. No luck. The shift had started. Only now, the map didn't lead to city streets or recognizable addresses. Just coordinates in the woods, near empty fields, places where no one should be at 2 a.m. The worst part? The app still works perfectly. Flawless interface. Endless rides. Passengers get in. They speak very little. Sometimes they weep. Sometimes they whisper things I'm not meant to hear. Some have no shadows. Some have no reflections in the glass. But they always get dropped off. Eventually. I don't sleep anymore. I don't eat. I don't leave the car. Because I don't know how. And every time a passenger says, "Thanks for the ride," I want to scream. Because I know the only reason they're thanking me is because it's not their turn yet.